Prosper, over to you. Prosper, are you there?
Hi, good morning. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. So give me a second. Mulawak, we are so happy to have you on and we can't wait to hear you.
Okay, thank you for
So let's get started. Yeah, let's get started. I just want to turn my camera on in a minute. So 3, 2, 1, action. Let's do this. All right. So Mulawak,
Hi,
who's
Prosper.
Mulawak? Should go. Hi, Mulawak.
Hi. Actually, Mulot is like a graduate class student, software engineering student, and like she is actually has responsible for her siblings and families, and she's hard worker, like to come up her dreams and ambitions. And maybe like when you when you are asking me, like you may like know about me more. So let's start the question, maybe.
Okay, great. Let's start the question. What did you breakfast before you go into the chat box?
Okay. I'm actually like live in my like a hometown. My hometown is like Barda in Ethiopia. Like, but my campus is like in around the capital city, Addis Ababa. So more of the time I live in Addis Ababa. Like, but in the break time I go for my hometowns. Okay, can you dance better than Binyam? I don't think so. Okay, tell us about your growing up. Actually, like my birthplace is Badar, so I learn grade from KG. Like we have a KG classes before grade starting the grade class. So I till grade 12, and I actually was in Bahardar. Like then, when I joined the campus, I moved to Addis Ababa. So like I have like spending in two cities yet now. What do you miss about most about Bahardar when you are in Addis? Her like her landscape is more like most of the time her land like the city's landscape is like special, and she's like the part that is gifted with the nature. So I always miss that when I am in Addis. You like cats or dogs? I don't like both cats and dogs. Being like I'm not a fan of animals. By the way, like I didn't have any pets in my home yet. If you're not an artist, where would you be? Most probably Barker. Like I love my my city. I don't know. Like I didn't go any cities yet, but like I moved to. I know at this end Barker. Like I more prefer Barker. Like she's like the. I love nature, so the Barda is so gifted with nature. So I prefer to live in Barda if I'm not in Addis. How many siblings do you have? Like I have two siblings, two ladies siblings. Have you been to Lalibela? Yeah, actually I have. We had a GC class trip last year, so we have like go to Lalibela, and I actually see that holy rock church to Lalibela. How old are you? I'm 24 years old. Favorite food. My favorite food is actually like I loved fried chicken, but fried chicken most of the time not cooked in my home, so it's available more of the time in hotels. So I love fried chickens, but the food that is cooked in home actually I love dorot. I have shown you like the picture about around the beginning of the 10 academic session, like mulork means. What does mulork mean? you know, it like it is like I can't translate word by word. Maybe like mulu means full, work means gold, full gold. It's funny, full gold. Yeah, like I don't know when my family gave me birds, like when they like see my face, they got me like beautiful. Maybe I don't know. They gave me this name just to express my beauty. I don't know. Maybe. What does your childhood look like? Favorite memories? Most of the time, like my village was not like safe when I was still grade 9. Like my village was like kind of, there was so many bullies around our villages, so being out home was not permitted. So like after school we are in home, so but we get bored so many times, and our families decide to uh, like they are there since we are not permitted to go out from home and playing some with other children, so we decide to go spending time in church after the school. So I have been in church after I always go to church after the school. There is also called like group of the same age spending time in the church. So in that time I love that memories. Like I don't know, there is no time that that would comparable with that times. Like I love that times after schools. I always miss, and I always like I always miss to go to church after the school. So I love that times. But after grade 9 I moved from my village and from to another village. So in that village I didn't know anyone, so I was kind of boring times. But before that I loved grade 1 to grade 9. I loved the time spending with my peers in the church. I love that times. Okay. Any nicknames? Yeah, I have actually a nickname. Most of my friends call me as Maggie. Maggie. I prefer that. I prefer that name. I love my nicknames actually. No one's know me like rather than like an official names in academic times. No one's know me as a Mulor. Most of my friends knows my as Maggie. What makes you proud about Ethiopia? Okay. Like more, I don't know, like our culture, like our identity. I love our identity, our cultures. Like I love that. I'm proud of that. What type of music are you into? I don't know. Like I'm not that fan of music, but I actually listen music. Like I don't select which kind of music I'm loved, so, but I usually listen music like I love some kind of slow music. I prefer like slow music and countryside music. I love that kind of music. What did you get in data science? Okay. When I grow up, like every day, as I don't know how many of you experience that, but me, most of the time when I grow up, like when I watch movies and got some kind of programmers. Oh, okay, I should be a programmer. Like that was my dream. Then I joined campus and I joined like software engineering. But then I actually like starting programming, but I am not like that much like that interested for that. So then I actually my intern time I was like a backend developer. I actually do what I'm intended to do, but I was not like in love with my position. So then when I'm like few year students, there was a course called big data. When I like learned big data, like it was I don't know, brainstorming for me. I starting to love in big data. Then I'm exploring the sciences around the big data. Then I got the data science. So and I actually have no any background about the data science, but after I joined the Teen Academy, like I began to love with data sciences. Okay, do you have a favorite holiday? Why is that holiday? Mescal, like cross, like cross. I don't know how can call this in English, but like there was called religion's holiday, Mescal. It's around in this month. What I'm loving that is like it's more like celebrating out of the home, and every people is around the village will like come up together and celebrate together. So I love that holidays. Would you rather be trapped in a swimming pool with a shark or locked up in a cage with tiger? No, Kevin. Like even I started swimming is like soon, like before 2 years, around before 2 years. Even I starting swimming. How religious are you? I'm Orthodox, Christian Orthodox. I don't know, Christian Orthodox. Your talent, I don't know, like what my talent is like. Um, I don't know, like maybe I can like later. Books that made impact in your life. To be honest, like without academic books, like I didn't read any books. Like most of the time, without reading the books, I love enjoying watching movie. Most of the time, I love watching movie. So movies, like actually as a book, movies have an impact in my life. For example, like I don't know if you are watch that movie, Revolution. This is race movie. I see in my like in high school time. I did see it, Revolution. So when I see the Revolution, like it was like it has an impact in my life. How like everything can change. Like so. Maybe I prefer to say like movies can have an impact in my life. Rather, like I didn't read any books rather than the academic books. How do you pronounce your last name? Shagao, like Shagao. It means like handsome. Shagao. What is your philosophy in life? Uh, Actually, still again, I'm not a fan of philosophy. Like I just like follow my religion, and I have like a belief in my religion. I just believe gods and live with that. I haven't any philosophy in my life. Okay. If arrived, Adnan, can you maybe type it again? I don't know. If arrived, what does it mean? I don't get it.
No, nobody gets a Malorg. Don't worry. It's just Heidi. You can just keep going.
Okay. What was the best phase in your life? What makes you feel accomplished? The best phase in my life is joining the campus. I mean, like before that, I just live with my family, so I didn't experience my real life. So before that, so when I joined the campus, but I started to experience, not actually learning, not actually living with others. Like you may learn like without living in a, maybe if I am not living in campus, I will not many soft skills I can get what I am like what I actually get now. So the best phase in my life is like joining the campus. Maybe what makes you feel accomplished? I don't feel like that I am accomplished, like, but still like I am like doing what I intend to do. Like I am learning on the schools. Like after I finish high schools, I am joining the campus. So so it's like I am following what I intend to do, but there is no what I feel accomplished yet. It's yet to come yet. Like Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole. Kevin, I don't know both of them. Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole, I don't. Maybe I know J. Cole is especially good, but I don't know the Kendrick Lamar. Yeah, but still, I'm not a fan of both of them. Who are your role models? I don't have any role models. I always learn from multiple people. It's like when I'm like getting into university, maybe my role models, maybe some friends, maybe some teachers, maybe some other guys, like some other role models. But on my life, like my role models always changes. Not like there is no one specific person for us my role model. I can't take no one's like if I'm like taking as leading the family, I may take my mother as a role model. If I in achieving some kind of accomplishment, maybe some I may take some other person. So I have no specific role models, but there is always multiple people in different roles. I have a role models. Are you more into looks or brands? Okay, let me read this. Mukali, like I have like I'm into both of them more. What programming language is your favorite? To be honest, like Python. Who has had the biggest impact on your career choice? My father and my friend. My friend, like my friends and my father. What keeps you move forward when you feel hopeless? Most of the time, God. when I'm start hopeless, like I start to think about what hopes give God, what God give us a hope, like, and I starting to think that I more prefer to think that then I will come up with hopeless and I start to hoping more. Where do you want to live? Actually, like I want to move from my country to American, but like I it's my like childhood dream. Like I wanna to go to American cities. Like at one of the states I wanna to move American states, but then after spending some years, but I would love to back to my country. Like but in this time I wanna to move to American cities. One of states I will not maybe choose, but I wanted to move America. Where do you want to live? Okay. What does your family think of your career? Actually, my families are not kind of educated like in this career. They are like merchants, and they stop their academic position at grade 12. They didn't finish their education, so they're like they always push me like what is best fit me, like they are suggesting me always this, not always thinking about they don't even know what I'm doing more, like what you are making front or back systematic motions. Is that your tension is realistic? Okay, maybe let me come back again. That's for Ada, maybe. Sorry. Why are you so cute? Right, thank you. I don't think it's all that much cute, like, but thank you. What's your favorite family traditions? They are like more, like they are more into religion, like they more like follow the religious principles. So our traditions is more of like based on our religious principle. So that's my family's favorite tradition. So your definition of success? Success, my definition to be success is just be happy, like be happy anytime. Like if you are actually feel you are success and be happy, like that may be success. Favorite movie? I can maybe like mention more than one. Like I love more like serious movies. Maybe Prison Break is the first one. Prison Break. The second I maybe put the last ship. And the third one maybe Revolution. The fourth one maybe Money Heist. Okay. What do you admire most the world? Nature. I I admire the most nature. Like how has your perspective in the world changed over time? Okay, what did you say to Binyam to convince him to stick with the pre-training assessment in academy? Are like my best friend is Binyam, actually, like he's my best friend. So we always take a discussion to do something. Like if I'm down, he was always by my side, and he always try to make me up. And if he's down, and I'm always on his side, and I'm trying to making him up. Like this is not like only for 10 Academy, but we always doing that thing. We always doing that. Like we are always for each other. What's your on your bucket list? What do you regret not doing in the last year? Okay, what I am regret doing last year, maybe I don't know. I didn't regret anything. I just like I was doing what I have to intend to do. What's your biggest regret, Bini? I told you I have no any regrets. Like maybe the always like I always maybe some kind of like I may be down sometimes why I'm doing that, why I'm not doing that maybe, but rather than to mention like as a regret, I have no anything biggest regret what I'm doing last year maybe. Okay, if you had unlimited money to start your own business, what would it be? STEAM center maybe. Like I love helping my like high school students more like. So if I am actually having money, I will open STEAM centers. The first thing you do in the morning, I always when I wake up from my bed, like I always pray. It's kind of 10 or 15 minutes reading book. There is a kind of book Suddasi Maram, a religious book. So I always start praying my day always. What's the last thing you do at night? Again, I always give a pray. If you got to name a country, how would you decide what to call it? I didn't think about this before, so I don't know how I name it. I don't know. What's your favorite story about yourself? This little argument you have ever been? I actually like I always argue with Biniam. Like since we are spending more of time with him, like always argue so many things every day. That's like we always argue everything about. But at the end of our arguing, we come up with some end points. If you could own a magical creature, unicorn forms, which one would you pick? Okay, if you have to use the static armor to predict Mukal Snake's what would you use? Maybe to cast boost, so I don't make the cast boost. What takes up to too much of your time? More of my time spending like reading and watching movie and spending with my friends. Like that's in this and that's around the evening. I more like spending with my families. What takes up too much of your time? What's the best way to start the day? Like as I said earlier, like I always start my day with praying. How different was your life 1 year ago? Yeah, as I told you before, I have no like I don't know about the big data or data science before. Like so, I was like I was thinking about the programming, but I was not in love with programming. So I was different from that. Now, like nowadays, I have like moved totally to this data scientific learning and related fields. I don't think that I will back to programming. Do you always join the weekly fasting in Ethiopia on different days? Yeah, yeah, actually do, Emmanuel. I actually do. I follow every fasting in Ethiopia. What pets did you have while you were growing up? I didn't have any pets. Do you like adventures? Yeah, I can't say like I love adventures or not, but like I love maybe since it's like if it's more like in nature. So yeah, I love nature adventures maybe. When was the last time you had in an adventure? When I was a kid, like when I was like kind of between 10 and 15 years, I was like in some adventures actually. What is the luckiest thing that has happened to you? Maybe my families. I don't know. The luckiest thing is my family. I love my families. Last 3 questions. What is the best thing that happened to you last week? Last week? I don't know. Nothing has happened. What you're looking forward into the coming months? I will looking forward to finish my schools. Maybe. What's the most annoying hobbies that other people have? What's your sport? I'm not more like in sports, but I since I'm kind of fat, I will start working on. What do you look out in the partner in the relationship? How do your best friends describe you? Okay, wait, okay, are you in a relationship? I think the Prosper said like it's the end of the question is do I maybe continue with Prosper or like I have to finish it?
Just continue.
Okay. If you have a power to correct one problem in the world, what would you fix? Okay.
Just can you answer the last 3 questions?
How did you say, Prosper?
Yes, it answer the other questions that came after me. And you're good
Okay.
to go. So you didn't
Okay,
answer.
let me try to answer firstly. Maybe are you in a relationship? Yeah, I'm actually in a relationship. Your smile is beautiful. Thank you, Anil. Indoor outdoor activities. Give an example of what you enjoy most. Outdoor activities like hiking. I love hiking. Indoor activities. Watching movie. Okay, what books has had a great impact in your life? I say I answered it before, Patrick. Is the fasting religious or cultural? It's religious. I think I finished it. Binyam, are you okay? I am not in a relationship with Binyam, with some other guy. He's just my friend. Thank you, guys.
Benny. All right. There's some funny questions here. Okay, I hope everyone is good. Yeah. Thanks, Oluwasegun.
So much for sticking and staying. They have been catfished. William has been catfished. Sorry.
Okay, I'm not sure if Prosper, we can't hear. Prosper, maybe you can type up what you were going to say. Your connection was breaking. Okay, so we're going to go straight into what's next. We shared a document, a very brief document in the all, I think it was the all general channel. I'm not sure. I'm going to put it up on screen. One thing I like is as people get to know each other, I think some people are now becoming more open. Okay, so very briefly, guys, what we wanted. Oh no, I'm posting the wrong thing. Sorry. This one. Yeah, just give me a second. Sorry. There we go. Oh my god, how am I going to find this thing now? So now I have to go through all my open tabs to find the one that I'm trying to present. Somehow it's not here. Oh, here we go. Here. Okay. Yeah, so we just wanted to, I think Isabel is still here. Is he here? Yeah, he's still there. Okay, so we just wanted to briefly talk about what's next. So as everyone knows, today's our last day. I'm realizing that we actually got the calculation wrong when we did the initial, we said 12 weeks, we'd finish on the 16th of October. That was after we extended by 1 week to allow, to make sure that we could get our Ethiopian colleagues on. I'm really happy we did that. I think we would have definitely missed out if we had just said, too bad we can't admit the Ethiopians, that would have been a mistake. So I'm glad that we were unanimous in doing that. But this is our last day of formal training. The last assignment is due tomorrow, and then we'll do our kind of extra freelancing week next week. But we've been thinking a lot, and that's one of the reasons why Yabel and I met in Munich to think about what's next. So I just wanted to briefly go through what we've put together. So we started this, as you know, we'd done it twice before, and we've taken this approach of let's experiment and let's learn. We had 4 goals in May, June 2020. The first one was to look at, I'm just going to go briefly through these slides. We wanted a training model that provides skills for learners to be job ready. We wanted an effective learning model that was good at selecting high potential people. High potential people for us is defined by intelligence, which we can test, work ethic, bias to learn, curiosity, bias to scale, people who are going to work hard, who are going to teach themselves things, and who are going to build something. We wanted to be able to place at least 10 people into full-time work within 3 months of the end of course. And then the fourth is we wanted a sustainable model. At the end, there needs to be some money involved, even just to pay salaries, to pay for different costs. And if you're not earning, if there is no financial model, then you'll either be dependent on external funding or, it just doesn't work or it doesn't scale. So those are the 4 things that we wanted to look at. The first 2 we think were really successful in terms of learners having job ready skills. Given that it was only 3 months, we've seen a huge progression. I am curious what most people think, whether they've picked up job ready skills, but from what we're seeing, what we're hearing, we think that there's a huge progression there. And we think that the model is also scalable, which is nice. Goal number 2, I think that this has been one also very effective. The people who are still here today, the 35 people who will finish the course, all of you here. It's not a perfect system, but I think it's been a pretty good way. There's probably some people who left for other reasons. We know that people got busy doing other things, but I believe, and I think my colleagues would agree, that if you were able to get here that far, it proves that you're able to teach yourself. It proves that you're able to work hard. It proves that you have your ability to take a single individual problem and try and teach yourself some of the things that you need to learn, work with others, and this sort of simulated work environment in an intensive phase. We think that that's gone really well. But the 2 things that haven't gone that well yet, and this is why we're proposing what's next, full-time work is slow progress. We're in touch with a number of companies. Companies are slow. Companies in Africa, they have some positions, but not that many that are pure data science. Companies in the rest of the world are very much in wait-and-see mode. There are some difficulties now with visas. The US, I think this week, I don't remember which day, announced a very strong change in their H-1B, their skilled worker visa program that's going to upend high technology jobs in the US. They're making it much more strict. So the rest of the world is in flux, especially around visas. There are open jobs, but it's unclear how we can get, while remote work is there, the mechanisms to get into those remote work jobs for more entry-level jobs is still unclear. But what's good to see is that companies that we've spoken to, they're valuing potential a lot more than skill. And so everyone, please feel free to unmute and just talk. This is it's not a lecture. It's more just an overview of what's going next. So feel free just to.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. No, this is Elecro.
Hi, Elecro. Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, please, can you explain the potential? You said some companies value potential over skills. Please, can you explain that?
So we've asked companies, would you rather have somebody with lots of skills or somebody who's really hungry to learn and who can learn really fast? And what companies have told us is to hire somebody with a lot of skills is A, difficult to find, B, is expensive. They'd rather have somebody who's hungry, who can showcase that within 1 or 2 months they can sit down and they're going to teach themselves what the company wants them to learn. So to be able to demonstrate that is quote unquote demonstrating potential. And most companies have said they would prefer, if they had the choice between a skilled person with lots of experience versus somebody who's really hungry to learn, who's going to sit down and no matter what you throw at them, they're going to digest it and come up with a good product. That's what they're looking for. And that's true in many cases. And so in terms of sustainable income, we haven't done well. We've put in a couple of requests to foundations, at least one big one to the MasterCard Foundation. We were very optimistic. They came back and said no. Other companies, some companies have said they may be willing to pay, but they haven't come back to us. Other companies have also straight up said no. So that for us is a rate limiting step. So where do we stand right now? Training model works well. We do need to learn some different lessons. We'll be reaching out to all of you for feedback. We feel that the model will scale, but the jobs and financial growth model is the rate limiting step. And so we want to solve that before we start training more people. So we need to, our gaps today is around jobs. So we need to find jobs at scale, and we need to find a way to cover the cost of training at scale. Because as we stand right now, we manage this time, but in future, we're not going to be able to continue to manage without either finding an external source of funding, but that's also rate limiting. And so we're looking for a way to do that. We have a couple of assumptions here, and this would be interesting to discuss, that people, you all 35 of you would be willing to pay something for your training, or at least cover the cost of your training, on the following assumption. So one is that you're not going into debt. So if you don't get a job, you're not going to pay. So it's not that you finish and then from Monday you have this pressure on your head. Look, I need to pay, I don't know, $50 a week. Otherwise there's going to be some problem. So we don't want people to go into debt. We want to make sure that when people start working, it's not that most of your money has to go to paying your, whatever the cost of training is back, that it's a fair amount and you can pay that off to make sure that we can grow. And you can also have a decent life in parallel, that you're not locked in for a long period of time. This is one of the concerns we have about some other models. Mandela is one that stands out, where our understanding is, and it could be wrong, but it's a multi-year commitment. And the last one is that the jobs that you go on to take, we wanted to contribute to a long-term data science career. So you're not just doing something really simple or something really basic, just to earn money to pay your debt off. So what we're proposing is to do two things. So a consulting outsourcing part of work, which is alongside the training side of the work. And our proposal is, and this is a name from Yababal, which I love, it's Tenacious. So we have 10 Academy training continues as before. So it would be, well, let's say it's like batch 3 with whatever improvements we need to make. It continues as a not-for-profit initiative. There is a cost for training, so whatever it costs us to deliver the training is what we would ask everyone who finishes the course to pay back, with 3 options to pay it back. So either you get placed into a full-time job, and we have the same model that we have right now, where 2 months of salary paid by the employer, 1 month of salary paid by the employee. You could work with Tenacious, the outsourcing company, to earn money to pay back the cost of training, or for people who are able, you just pay up front. And we're looking for 3 options post-training. Full-time placement, as we're looking for now, freelancing or gig work, as we're looking for now, or you come work for the consulting company. And on the Tenacious, the consulting outsourcing company, Patrick made this comment, and it's true. It seems like that is a model that a lot of other people are moving towards, and it took us a while to get here. And we'll talk about this in the next slide, we want to work with everyone who is on this call today, everyone who finished the training, to learn how do we do it, how do we deliver this in the most effective, the best possible way. So we're looking our current proposal is consulting and outsourcing for clients anywhere in the world. Currently a data science focus that could expand in the future. It's a regular company, so a regular quote unquote for-profit company. We want to do it with consulting projects delivered not only with junior team members, but we have experienced people like Yababel, like myself, like others, who would help to work with the clients to structure the work, to make sure that the approaches make sense, and then everyone else who comes in would be working there as well. But it's not like an Upwork sort of approach where you're completely on your own. We would have this the structures in place. There would also be infrastructure in place, both in terms of computing and if need be physical, but that's to be determined. We would look for 10 Academy grads to be the primary talent source for Tenacious, and finally be paid on a salary or contract basis, and then whatever the cost of the training is, we would look to be taking up to 15% of the salary per month until the training cost is repaid. So I want to stop there and just take some questions. I don't know if there's questions in the chat. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to stop there for now, and before we talk. Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, sorry. That Tenacious part, I didn't quite understand. Is it for future training or for this current training? The tenacious
So this is what we need to do this year. We need to find some work. And the first people we would come to are people, would be all of you. So, but we need to find the work first, right? Delivering the work is not a problem. We have the talent, we have getting resources in terms of computing resources, setting up the organization. All of that is straightforward. The first thing we need to do is find the work. So that's our plan from now. What sort of jobs, so what specific types of jobs for which types of companies, how do we make that case to different organizations? But that starts now with this batch. So our plan is, just to be clear, we do not, at present, we don't want to do batch 4 training because we want to have something for people to go on to do. So until we start to understand what that looks like, we plan to wait.
Just to add on that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to add on that, one way to see it is just if the current project we are doing, if it's for a real client, but if we had that project for financial gain, for example, that the company will pay some amount, and then it will be very similar. Of course, it doesn't involve everyone. It will probably involve one group, and then that group is paid, of course, and for them, like the agreement we will sign, and then we'll basically just be in a similar format. So you guys will just take the hardware that we supervise in many ways. So the format will be very similar, except that at the moment, this is more for the training, but for the real job would be like, we would get a job and there will be a specification from the client, what they want. And then we convert that into a data science task. And then you do the work and then you get paid. Basically, it's just that would be the relationship in the tenacious format.
So guys, everyone, let's keep it informal. Let's make it sort of a virtual roundtable. Feel free to unmute and just talk. Or you can, if you turn your video on, that would be even nicer. And please, we're past the point. The training is we're done. We're almost done. But we are relying on your opinions. If we have missed something, we'd like to know.
Yeah.
Or if you can think of ways to make it better. Kevin?
Can you hear me? Yeah. For me, I like the tenacious approach of it. If you're not getting jobs from other companies and from outside there, we can create sort of our own where we get to work and we'll only work on a contract basis. My question is, for the people, let's say there are people who are going to manage to work on a monthly basis or in a contract basis. Is the 15% based off each contract or off each month? Because the modes of payment, if you're in a contract way and in a monthly way, are going to be sort of different.
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. We don't know. I mean, the basic premise is we want to find a fair way that everyone earns enough money to survive, but the training model will not scale if it's losing money. So let's assume that there's some fair cost of delivery. We need to find a way to get that money back to 10 Academy so that the training can continue and grow. And so we don't have an actual cost of training. We don't know. So let's be open. Right now, whatever we did in this batch, there was a lot of people who were volunteering, people who just came in and helped out. We did it very much, we somehow managed, but it's not a sustainable sort of way. So we don't have a number figure. Our hope would be we would come in at something which was, I can't give you a number right now because the actual cost of training right now was pretty low. But it's because so many people volunteered their time, or they were underpaid, or they just were willing to do stuff that, I mean, take Idris, for example. Idris was 100% volunteering his time. I don't know what it would cost to get someone like Idris to come in.
Yeah, just to give, again, another context, I think, so the assumptions that Arun presented earlier, the 3 assumptions that, you don't get into debt and you have to actually earn to live a life that is reasonable. And so those are the premise. So whatever this 15% that is coming, it really depends on that. Definitely in the beginning, it all depends on how much the contract we are going to have with the client. So the client comes and we expect to start with, probably it's going to be a project the client would give between 5,000 and 10,000. And then we, usually at the beginning, you actually make a loss. Like you're not going to really have a profit. So that's where you get into a deal. We're saying like, okay, like at the moment, Tenacious is trying to prove that it kind of delivers a quality work, and that then many other companies can come and give contracts, right? So that's in the software development model. This thing is quite common, that there are groups and there are many companies in the Latin America, India, Vietnam, everywhere else, and also in Africa with Andela and others who actually perfected this kind of system, right? But they have a much more locked system where like you actually work for 4 years without. So we try to, exactly what Aaron said, we try to not lock that kind of system. And so you will have a lot more say how you're gonna contribute in that way. Of course, there is the part that we specified, like, okay, 1 month of your salary if you get hired. So we try to balance, and that's what this discussion is. What is a reasonable thing, and how does it scale? And in the beginning, there's gonna be definitely not enough job to give for everyone. Like we probably expect, I don't know, a couple of them to come, and then once they come, then we will, yeah. So it's kind of, we haven't determined, we don't know. We are new, and that's where this discussion is all about, is, what is the best way to set it up, and what is your opinion, such that opinion influences how we're gonna think.
So Ada, I think to answer your question, it would probably be very much informal. We're not going to build an Upwork sort of system. It'll be by email. We're going to look to place people based on wherever we see the best fit to begin with. So don't expect there won't be some fancy Upwork system. It'll be the best low-tech system, email or Slack or whatever it is. It's going to be on that sort of basis. Ilukura, I mean, there are maybe some similarities to Andela. I hope that we're also different. One of the things that we don't like about Andela is that you're locked in. And so the idea here is that you're free to go off and do whatever you want. If you want to be part of it, you can. But the idea is that this is, that you're not locked in.
Yeah. So I think that's very important. We may be actually making a mistake in doing that, right? But this is where it comes as a principle. From the start, we focus on kind of impact, and we had deliberately, we discussed and took time to understand, okay, where should we stand in this debate, in this kind of line? And if you got training, you have everything you want, and if you want to leave, then nothing, like if you want to get your own job on your own, I think there is nothing, right? You're not like, there's no contract that made you stay. But where we think that you would probably stay, that's because we are a future company. We are more targeting that we will grow, and we trust in ourselves that there will be more opportunity to come, that people who would stay will benefit. So that's the kind of philosophy and principle we have, and we are proving that. And at least from the training side, we did prove that, we did it in a much cheaper cost than anywhere else. And that won't continue, we know, but at least we proved the system that it will work in this kind of training, intensive training, relying on the student performance, believing also that in Africa there is so much talent that there is no shortage of talent. It's a matter of organizing that talent. And so it's kind of this, a series of steps that we have to prove, and this is one. When it comes to scaling to work, is that if we don't get the job, we will create the job, kind of. Yeah.
And just to add to that, I think the basic, some of the questions that I'm hearing are around how will it work. So the basic approach that we want to take is super simple. We know that we have talented people. We know that globally there is a need for data science work. We simply want to be a mechanism to put that together, so we can reach out to companies, and working together through this Tenacious brand, we can deliver bigger projects than any of you could individually do, perhaps through platforms like Upwork. And working together, we create more value than we could do on an individual basis. So that's point number one. Point number two is we think that the training has value, and we think that people are are happy to pay for that, whatever value they got from the training, but one needs the mechanism to earn the money to pay for that. And so there are some, so what McKinsey often says is they try and create, I think there are multiple, it might be 3 or it might be 10. So they only take on a contract if they can provide the client, and this is what they say, at least 3 times, the client gets 3 times the value of whatever their fee is. And so what we're thinking here is that let's take the number $1,000. So if the training that everyone went through over the past 3 months had a actual nonprofit cost, the actual cost of delivery was $1,000. The hope is that people would, if they had the means to pay that back because they were now earning more money, once they paid the $1,000 back, they paid for their training, they're free, they can go off and do whatever they want. They could earn that through Tenacious. They could do that however want, but the assumption is that people are willing to pay for that cost of training, recognizing that they will earn much more money going forward in the future. And also recognizing that there is no such thing as a free lunch. We can't, the money has to come from somewhere. And we don't want to be, as much as possible, we want to be sustainable and independent. Claire, your question, would there be interviews? I think we've just gone through a 3-month-long interview. We know each other. So if this 3-month-long process is nothing other than an interview, I don't think, this is one thing we're saying to employers when we're talking about placing people into jobs. I mean, I don't know what I could learn from speaking to any of you in an hour more than we've learned over the last 3 months. Jeanette, your question, can someone get a job in another company? Realistically, I think if people are working full-time somewhere else, they should keep doing that. I think that's fine. I mean, just to be clear, we said this at the start and we're sticking with that. For everyone who is here, if you do not get a job through an introduction from us, you don't owe us anything. We're not coming back to you now and saying, okay, now you have to pay us. I just want to be clear. We said that and we're sticking to that. Training with batch 3 training where there's no change. We're not saying, surprise, you have to pay us. The only thing we said, and we're sticking to that, is if we introduce you to a job through us and we've brought the company and said, look, these are the people that we recommend, then we would ask for a contribution up to a maximum of 1 month's salary. But we're not changing and saying, now you owe us 15% of your salary. That's not what we're saying. I just want that to be clear. So I think Patrick asked a similar question, and Jeanette as well. I think if somebody's working full-time, I don't expect that we would then give them contract work on top of that, because I don't know how they would deliver. I don't know what you think, Everett.
I mean, yeah, I think if you had definitely a full-time job, it would be very hard to deliver. But I would say that would be a lot more on discussion basis. Like there could be exceptions, maybe. I mean, but yeah, out of purely that in the beginning, in particular in the beginning, we would be wanting exactly like now. I mean, I think from yesterday's discussion, we have seen, for example, Nahom was, saying how their group, they were busy with schools opening up and they really couldn't do much, right? So we don't want to get into that kind of situation because clients, we don't want to, especially in the beginning, we don't want to have a negative impact in the kind of delivery, the deadline and all that. So that would make it very, very hard to kind of take a full-time employee in the Tenacious mode. But definitely, if you are working and let's say you could take a break in your job and you want to come, I think definitely there is something that we will talk. I mean, I don't think we just are binary at the moment, but we just will really prioritize people who can dedicate full
time. Let me go again. Let me play devil's advocate for a minute here. So in a scenario where you get a job through Ten Academy, let's say you've agreed with the employers, the 2 months of salary, and with us, that's 1 month's salary. What if somebody gets a better offer before the whole period, before the whole 3 months at the whole salary that you guys are supposed to get is complete, and that person has not yet completed that? How will that work? How will the dynamics of that be? such a
So
scenario?
it's a reasonable but a complicated scenario. Yeah, it's something that we also have to learn. This is, I don't know. I think what we're hoping is that people stay for a reasonable period of time. That could be 6 months. It could be longer. I don't imagine that we're going to be able to lock anyone in. In practice, that would make our life a little bit more complicated. It would also be more complicated for the employer in terms of being repaid. But it's also a good sign if you're making these jumps ahead really quickly. I think this is one of the reasons why, Kevin, we want to move towards a clearer answer to say, let's just say that it's the cost of training is ABC. And so become whatever comes, Kevin, we need you to help us by repaying us ABC in the 2 years or the 1 year post training, so that it's whether you're working at company X or company Y, we still ask you to repay that to this not-for-profit organization, which is Ten Academy Training.
Yeah. But just we made it clear. I mean, this applies in the future, right? So that's where we want to get predictable mode. At the moment, I think Arun stated it clearly. Nothing has changed from the beginning, what we said, but we want to get there because exactly for the questions you ask, things get complicated, and I think we want to simplify that.
So let's keep discussing, why is Ten Academy a non-profit? I think training works better as a not-for-profit. I think that profiting off training is it's a slippery slope. I think it also enables us to raise, if a foundation wanted to come in and say, look, we want help we would love to expand this to a different part of the world, then that enables that training side of it to be done. I think education and for-profit education, I personally believe is a slippery slope. There's a lot of challenges there. Also, once you get into people delivering, let's take someone like Gideon. Gideon was helping out and lecturing, or he was helping to do a challenge, or Emmanuel Sechi, or other people who are part of the training. If it's for-profit education, it changes, I think, the flavor.
Yeah. But I think on top of that, it's also, I would say, one of the things that we even didn't want to put was just, do you need to have a university degree to do something, right? So at the same time, we really want actually as much as possible to, we don't think Africa has enough universities to cover, to take in, or educational systems to take in talented people from different villages. And in principle, we want to go to that, where you basically, whether you manage to pay or not, as long as you work hard and you demonstrate, as long as you have a talent, that is kind of, that will pay off in the future. So we try to not have financial kind of constraints, nor even a university in the future. At the moment, we definitely cannot move away from it because of the global acceptance that, okay, you need a certain level. But I think that's partly really fundamental. If you are asking the fundamental question, that's where we have been thinking a lot, and why I believe also just training should be a lot more, find a way to profit from talent, from knowing where talent is, but don't kind of profit from finding, how kind of creating the talent. I think that's
So guys, other thoughts, discussions? When we say we need your input, these sorts of questions are useful. This old statement, there's no such thing as a quote unquote dumb question. In this case, it really applies because we may be missing something very obvious. No? Anyone? You can type, you can unmute, you can do whatever you want.
I have to go to another meeting, but I will drop off here. But whatever else that has been discussed, I will hear from Arun then.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Thanks, Yovo. So Ada, we haven't found a good financial model. In the first batch, we self-funded it. Most of it, we self-funded 80%. Batch 2, we got some support from Johnson & Johnson, and that covered most of the costs. and we're still using some of that leftover funding, but we had to stretch that to make it go. So number one, we tried, we self-funded. Number two, we used some external funding, but it was never, somehow it's never been we hadn't been able to solve this mix of how do you find scale in terms of how could we get funding, which also scales. So present batch one, you can say was self-funded, batch two was externally funded, and that we carried that over to this one. Yeah. So just to summarize, and I'll present what we're thinking of next, and then I will, if there are no more questions, we can always go to so the question is, do you think the plan will be sustainable? So the basics seem to work quite well. The training, we wanted to test fewer things at one time. And so this, in terms of the training, I think that we have a really good class of people who are ready to work and who are hungry to work. And if we can, and we can do it in a financially efficient way, so we would charge something that we think people can reasonably pay back within 1 year. So that's, I think in terms of the training cost and getting that cost covered, it seems like it's a reasonable amount. In terms of how do we find that magic, and this is also a question, this is also a question to answer Jeanette's question. How do we find, so let's take next week. Next week, we're all going to go, and Upwork gets this inflow of talent, smart, hungry people who are willing to work, and they're doing work through Upwork for clients around the world. And that's on one hand fine. On the other hand, Upwork is profiting from all of your abilities, and they'll take their cut, and it's like 20%, and that's what they do, and that's very clear. We believe that there must be a way, and this is what we're going to be building. We need to find the way to build relationships with clients who are in other parts of the world or even in Africa, to try and get some of that, find enough work to keep all of you busy and to keep, so that you get experience, so that you earn some money, and we keep building. Now, how fast will that rate of growth be? We are not sure. And that's what we need to find out. How do we plan to expand, Jeanette? We just need to find clients. We think that if we were to find some really big projects, then we think that we have a training model that we believe in. We know that the cost is reasonable. We know that it's scalable in terms of delivery. So it's only the rate limiting step becomes the amount of work that we can find post-training. I don't know how much is above the minimum salary. As we said, it really depends. We want people to be comfortable, and we don't want people to go into debt in order. If you're working, you should be able to focus on your work. So we don't want people to be paying the training back in a way that really impacts their long-term life. So we need to figure out what that looks like. So to be determined. Emmanuel, the cost of training, you think it'd be a trade-off between the number of people who gain from the training and the quality of training? Emmanuel, I don't understand your question. Could you restate it? So the leaderboard will play a role. When we talk about finding the best fit, people who perform the best are most likely are probably the people we reach out to first, on one hand. On the other hand, it depends on people's skills. So some people are really good. Some people are stronger at coding. Some people are stronger at visualization. Some people are stronger at putting the whole story together. People's availability will also play a role. So it depends, but I would rather say the leaderboard is not, so the leaderboard is just one snapshot of information. I would say people's performance over the 12 weeks, and the leaderboard only provides one specific cut of that. But people's performance over the 12 weeks is, to a large extent, the interview that we conducted. So people's performance over the training will definitely play a role. So Emmanuel, to your second question, we would love to work with you and to say, if you're doing work on Upwork, is there a way for you to convert that into a direct contract, or for us to get Tenacious involved, and where you earn more and we do more work, and perhaps working together if for example you're going into a complicated modeling scenario. And so if we look at who are we, Yababel and me bring two very different sets of skills. He could help on how do you approach it in terms of the most efficient modeling, or how do you do the deployment. I have more experience in working with different clients. How do we structure a contract? How could we get more work, or take over more work that comes out of it? And so learning which sorts of clients at a certain scale are looking for work on Upwork, and how could we maybe get them off Upwork and to come directly to us, would definitely be one of the things that we want to do. Absolutely. And so I just wanted to present quickly what's next for the rest of 2020. So for 10 Academy, we want to put together the lessons learned from batch 3. We still have our goal of supporting job placement, goal of 10 placements by the end of 2020. That's still our goal. We want to support the freelancing process, and we want to prepare for batch 4. So that's not likely before April 2021. On the Tenacious side, we want to learn from clients. I'm going to be talking to as many people as possible. What are they looking for? In which instance could we say, hire from us? Don't go for a local person. Don't go to Upwork. Don't go to TopTel. Don't hire a other lower cost Eastern Europe or India. Why not hire from them? Why not hire from us? What's our sweet spot? Our aim is to secure 2 real projects in not a huge amount of money, but starting real projects delivered by, and this should say Tenacious, not 10 Academy. And we want to work with each of you to learn through companies that you're applying to, through the work that you're doing at Upwork. We'll be putting together a sheet just to help us learn who we need to learn. We need to figure out who's looking for data science talent, how much are they paying, and how do we find a good sweet spot for us to get started to say, we can deliver high quality work at a much better cost than you're paying somewhere else, and this is why you should hire from us, as opposed to going somewhere else. Jeanette, yes, absolutely. So in terms of coming back maybe as a tutor, or delivering mentoring, or delivering a set of lectures, or even, I think one of the best things that all of you can do when you go out is consider hiring other young people who come. So first hire, if you get into a company, I would really love it if each of you thinks about how could you hire other people from batch 3, how could you get them into your company? So if you get a job and your manager, your team is looking for other people, I would first of all recommend your colleagues that you've gotten to know here and say, hey, look, I know somebody great. He or she is maybe from Nigeria, or from Kenya, or from Ethiopia, from Rwanda. I know somebody great. In future, that'll also be an important source of hiring. How do you make sure that we get as many people into full-time jobs? Or if there's a chunk of work which is coming up, and it may not be full-time, but maybe it's a 3-month-long project, talk to us. How can we put more future 10 Academy graduates to work? So Jeanette, yes, absolutely, there are ways. And I want to give the example of Jean. Jean had a full-time job, but we were asking him for his advice on data science. And Jean said, look, he went above and beyond, and he made a contribution. So Jean was busy through this training because he was doing a full-time job on the side with a kid and his wife. And so he somehow managed to put it all together. But he went the extra step and said, I want to make sure that this new training model actually works. And that's how he made his contribution. So yes, in summary, yes, Jeanette, there's a way. So any other questions, ideas? Are we missing something? I mean, there's a lot of questions. What are some of the risks or the wrong assumptions that we see, or potentially risky assumptions? No, I don't. So we don't want to build like an Upwork. We would like to move towards proper consulting work or into outsourcing. But one of our hopes out is that people will eventually move into full-time work. Probably not through us. In the training sense. I don't know. I actually don't know. There are probably some hybrid models that we could use where there is some in person. I do think, and I think everybody would agree, that once you get beyond a class of 50 people online, it won't work. So I think it would only work if we keep small class sizes up to 50 people, and then we have maybe classes running in parallel. I can't imagine that it'll work if you have, let's say, 80 people in the class online. I think people will get lost. It'll be very hard to follow what's going on. Stand-ups don't work. So if that would be to grow, we would do smaller classes in parallel. How do we take advantage of in-person alongside online? We'd have to think about that. It's one of the things that we had thought about, as opposed to going to different countries. Why don't we just set up shop in Lagos or Nigeria and just do an in-person training? So that's something that's also to be determined. But to be honest, I feel like the training side, one of the big experiments that we had this time, the online was part of it, but this let's say challenge-based or this case-based model was a big one that was one of our big experiments. We had, as you saw, we had tutorials, but very few lectures. And we wanted to see, would it actually work? Could people pick up real, actually useful skills without having, we didn't have any exams. There were no real lectures. I mean, the tutorials, maybe some of them turned into lectures, but the majority of the learning was not being taught, but it was you learning by yourselves. And I think that's something that we can absolutely pick up and run with. So the training side, I'm less worried about, because I think we have enough experience now that we can figure it out. Our biggest challenge is finding that sweet spot where, in a globally competitive environment, why are the 35 of you better placed to deliver value than people in the rest of the world? So that's the big question over the next couple of months. Yeah, last couple of questions, and then we can end. No? All right. So then, if there are any questions, you guys know where to find us. We will be reaching out. We will be bothering you, asking you questions. Who are you working for? What are you doing? We may be asking you questions on how much you're earning. We'd love to get as much information as possible, not because we want to stalk you, but only because we want to learn. And we're trying to be super open on what are we doing, what worked well, what didn't work well, what are our goals. Our long-term goals remain the same. We want to get lots of people into jobs in a good way, so that in a sustainable way, and we're trying to address these quote-unquote rate limiting steps. Yeah, so your feedback and the information that you provide and being open to all the questions we're going to ask are an important part of it. We are going to do the freelancing week next week, as we talked about, so we can look forward to that. So let's stop here. If you have any questions, you know where to reach us. So we're online today. It's kind of a funny end to we'll do the graduation next week. It looks like the majority of people are available next Friday, so we'll have to find a way to try and get to 100%, even if that's not realistic. But yeah, this is not the end, so I won't say more than it's been a good session, and it's been a really nice 3 months together. We still have to figure out how do I get my kids on a call, or my family on a call along with Gabriel, so we can try and organize that. Anyone else? Last statement. Anyone want to unmute? I'm sure people are busy working already. No? All right. Gerald?
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Yeah. Actually, I think the idea for like Upwork having like the consultancy platform is actually a great idea, because one of the challenges that most of us face if you go outside applying for jobs is the work experience. So aside from helping 10 academic grow, because we formed, even amongst ourselves, we formed our community. So in whichever way we can give back, it will be, I just feel like I have to also give back to the community, either in terms of if it's contributing, if it's maybe one day coming back to the community and like also volunteering to teach or something like that.
Yep.
So it's I really think it's a great idea, and it will also help us grow, so that even if you go outside there, having worked on a couple of real world projects, it will also add to our experience. So I think it's a really nice idea. So aside from just sourcing for clients, I was just thinking maybe we'll even partner with research organizations, because if you realize there are so many research projects, maybe into agriculture within Africa or any other part of the world, but they don't have people who can actually get for them details from the data that they usually have. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So the project we're working on right now, thanks, Gerald. The project we're working on right now is a good example. I mean, Tolu does have access to people who could do it, but it's just sometimes hard to find the right person and to structure it and just to actually get a result. So there are people who have needs out there, and there are people who have budgets to pay for it. And there's I think the class of 35 that we have here is really, really more solid, I think, than you realize, and definitely more solid than many fresh graduates in other parts of the world. And so we're very early to the game, and unfortunately it now falls to us to do the hard work to build it. I think in another part of the world, I think I've told you guys a couple of times, there's a data science training organization in my building where I live on the ground floor. They charge, I think, $13,000 for a 3-month course, or 13,000 euros. And they finish with the training, and their model is similar. Once you get a job, you need to pay it back. But there are enough companies that are out there that are already looking to hire. And unfortunately, in the environment that we're working in, we need to now do the next step of also finding the jobs. So it's harder, but we'll do it. Yeah, I mean that's the real cost. But that's a normal cost. Go look at what is the name? A Flatiron School in New York City, General Assembly. The normal cost of a 3-month course is $10,000 to $15,000 US. That's the global cost. So that's just, it is what it is for a good quality training course. And so I think that's one of the things that Yevgel and I are also happy about, is that because we don't have faculty sitting around lecturing, because we have this challenge-based model, because it's a totally different model, it's not only, we think, not only effective, but it's also much more efficient, and it's also scalable. But we need to now get you guys into work. So any other last questions, thoughts? And I mean, let me say one more point, then I'm going to finish. Anyone who so Benny, I don't know. We're still working on it. I mean, it sounds very. We are still. Anyone who got a job should pay. Yeah, I mean, so we're happy to get. We're happy for people to make a contribution of up to 1 month of salary. That would help us. That's just. It's not a requirement. We said one thing, and we're going, from our side, we're happy for any contributions, but it's definitely not a requirement. But as people go onto Upwork next week, and I don't know if everyone won't be fully busy at the start. There are ways that you can help, even if it's in terms of just helping us figure out who should we talk to, refining different offers, processing the information about who did what in batch 3, and how do we design new courses, new challenges. We have a lot of ideas, and so there would be opportunity for volunteer work with both Tan Academy and Tenacious as we kind of get things together. Yeah. So I'm going to stop there, and our door or our email box or Slack box is 100% open for thoughts and ideas and contributions. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, Muluwork, for the AMA. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Bye.